Okay. All right, we're going to call the Richmond City Council meeting of Monday, September 28th, 2020 to order. Madam Clerk on the minutes.
Thank you, Your Worship. If there can be a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on September 14th.
So moved.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Any agenda additions or deletions?
None, Your Worship.
And we have nobody in the council chambers, and we have nobody who has said that they plan to come in virtually. So we go to the consent agenda highlights. We have the receipt of the committee minutes, the parking fees for 8620 and 60 Beckwith Road, 2 heritage alteration permits, 1 by the school board for 8220 General Curry Road, which is General Curry School, and the other one is the application by First Onsite Restoration Limited at 3580 Moncton Street, which is the Hepworth block. So may I have a motion to adopt those by general consent? Moved and seconded. Anybody looking to discuss anything? Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, just a quick question on the General Curry one. I think it was Councillor Wolf brought up with regard to the rails going in there. They're steel, I understand, or metal, and at one time they were wood. Is there any reason why that couldn't be? Has that been corrected? Or anybody look into it since the last meeting?
Through your worship to Councillor McNulty, the proposal was for metal railings. The stairway and ramp that is being replaced, it is being proposed with metal railings to match other railings on the building. There is no wood railings proposed as part of this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's why you didn't touch it then. So the changes were made a number of times ago. I'm assuming that.
Through your worship, yes, the metal railing that is proposed as part of this ramp would match existing railings on the building.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Green?
Thank you. Through you to staff, I just wanted to clarify about the brick on the Hepworth building. On the text on page 56, it says that the new brick looks aged, and then it's being done by hand. Has this been done before? And what will the results? What can we expect from that?
Through your worship to Councillor Green, in terms of hand aging of bricks, yes, it has been done before. The permit does come with the requirement that staff view the bricks before they are installed, so we are looking to ensure that they are as close to the existing bricks as possible.
Thank you kindly.
All right, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. That's the consent agenda. Brings us to, there's 2 items on the non-consent agenda. First is the public art program policy. And as set out on the agenda, the recommendation is that option 3 revised to reflect a cumulative budget of $250,000 or more, as set out in table 1 of the appropriate staff report, be approved as the preferred option for the approval of the terms of reference for public art on private property and policy 8703, public art program be revised accordingly, and I would so move.
Second.
Very briefly, there was a second part to this report which has been referred back to staff for more discussion and investigation. But what's on the floor is about the terms of reference for public art, which is on private property when there's a development. So right now, terms of reference for that art are presented to the Public Art Advisory Committee, and they basically approve it. The notion by some was that for option 2, you should have council ratifying that the review of the terms of reference every time, or option 3, which is on the floor, is that if the budget for the public art is for $250,000 or more, then there would be a council review of the terms of reference. And I'm supporting that option 3, which puts that budgetary limit in there. That, according to the report, about half the art pieces or the art that goes through in developments would then go through a process, and that would be the bigger items, not the smaller budget ones. So I think it's a reasonable compromise. Councillor Day.
Thank you very much. I also will be supporting this. I think it is a reasonable compromise. I did have a question, though, about on page CNCL 83, there's it states on paragraph 5.3.1 that the city will commit the amount equivalent to the minimum of 1% of each capital budget. And if we adopt this tonight, are we accepting that we're going to keep that at 1%? Because if we are, then I would vote for an amendment to reduce the 1% that the city taxpayers would pay for public art to 0.5%, which will then be the same as the funding as you go to CNCL 84, paragraph 6.3.1, where the public art contribution for private sector is only 0.5%. So if we're...
That question, first of all, has been answered as to how we got to it in a memo, and secondly, that question is not on the agenda. You're just seeing the full public art policy, which reflects that. If we want to take another look at it, we can, but not tonight. Staff.
Okay, so if we approve what's on the table today, we're not approving the 1%. Is that correct, Mayor Brody?
Well, we're not changing it. That's what it is.
So if I want an amendment to change that 1% on paragraph 5.3.1 to 0.5%, we can vote on that tonight?
No. It would have to, we would have to refer that to staff. We'd get more analysis on it, and it could come back through the committee.
Okay, then I'll make that amendment, that referral after we're finished with this. Thank you very much.
Councillor McPhail. Carol, your hand's still up.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to staff. On our Council 69, the last sentence of the second paragraph, it says, for artworks on private property, the terms of reference is developed by the public art consultant, working with the developer and presented for review to RPAC for the selection before the selection process can begin. So my question to staff is, comments made by the Public Art Advisory Committee, there is the opportunity for those comments to impact the terms of reference. Isn't that correct?
Through Your Worship, Councillor McPhail, yes, that is correct.
So it's not just a slam dunk, the developer with the art consultant presents it. I can tell you I was my experience when I was the liaison to the Public Art Advisory Committee was just that. There was a process to develop the terms of reference, and I thought it was really effective. The committee got to understand the neighborhood area public art plan, overview of the site, presentations from the public art consultant, and the interaction of the Public Art Advisory Committee, who brings the community's voice to the table, was very effective. So I think that it's, there is that community involvement, and, this is a voluntary contribution. And so I think it goes through a rigorous review process at the Public Art Advisory Committee under the leadership of city staff and a public art consultant when necessary. So I am not supporting the recommendation on the floor. Thank you.
Councillor Rao?
I'm going to support the motion. I know that public art is a very sensitive area, and also it could be controversial at times. And even if we have a very perfect process, it can still raise questions. But I think staff has pointed out that this is going to harmonize the process currently in place for the approval of terms of reference for the public as well as the private property. I think this is a good thing to do, that we don't have two different sets of rules for approval of private or public arts. And I also raised the question about, why do we set a standard at $250,000 as a distinction that we require the approval before or not. And again, I know this is very subjective. It's hard to come with a figure that you can, very scientific or could be very precise. But I think this is a good compromise. It's not small amount, and I think we should not go into doing too much for the small programs, small projects, I mean. So I think this is, again, a good compromise. So I'm going to support this motion.
All right, your hand's still up. All right, with that, on the motion that's on the floor, we'll call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? It is carried with Councillor Liu and Councillor McPhail opposed. All right, that brings us to, Councillor Day, you had a referral you wanted to make? Seems to me.
Very much, Mayor Pro.
You wanted a.
Thank you very.
Can I
Yeah, I would like
suggest you wanted a review of the city contribution as set out in the public art program of 1%, as set out in
Yeah.
5.3.1?
Yeah.
To review it and to advise on options.
Yes, thank you.
So that's your motion,
Yes.
okay? Is it seconded?
Second.
Okay, discussion on the referral. Councillor McNulty.
Your worship, if we're looking at that, I think you've got to look at 6.31 as well and come up and have a paper on the rationale of why any figure was picked. Maybe it shouldn't be 0.5, maybe it shouldn't be 0.1. It's very difficult for us to piecemeal adjusting the public art program that's been evolved to this stage where it's working. So I think any of the figures like that would need to be reviewed in a referral, not just one.
So I'll ask Councillor Day, are you content to expand your referral to include the public art contribution by the private sector of 0.5% as set out in 6.3.1?
Well, I'm not so concerned, honestly, about the. I think the 0.5% for private public art is reasonable. I'm just concerned about the 1% that the city taxpayers would have to pay.
Yeah,
It just seems unfair.
But Councillor McNulty thinks we should take a look at that as well. So are you content to take a look at it as well? And we'll just expand the referral motion?
Yeah, that's fine. I think it's going to come. Yeah, okay, fine.
We'll get
Thank
more
you.
information on it. You know, we could well stay with the status quo, just get more information. So it's to look at the city contribution and the private contribution for public art. So that's what's on the floor, and staff will take a longer look at that. We do have a memo which sets it out briefly, but we can get more analysis than that. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Any opposed? So that's carried with Councillor Liu opposed. Sorry? Oh, and McPhail. Okay, so that's carried. All right, that brings us to the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 expansion project update. And the recommendation is that as described in the staff report, and it's the one on the agenda and in the materials, the letters be sent to the Prime Minister, Federal Minister of the Environment and Climate Change, Premier of BC, Provincial Minister of the Environment and Climate Change Strategy, the Provincial Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure, federal and provincial leaders of the opposition, local MPs, local MLAs, if there are such a thing right now, and Metro Vancouver municipalities requesting that the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 expansion project not proceed. And secondly, that staff be directed to work with the BC Environmental Assessment Office to develop provincial assessment conditions to protect the interests of the community should the Roberts Bank Terminal 2 expansion project be approved, and I would so move.
Second.
Okay, so just very briefly, Richmond has in the past stated its objection to this project, and so we're basically reiterating that opposition and sending letters appropriately and working with the Environmental Assessment Office, et cetera, et cetera. So, Councillor Day.
I'll be wholeheartedly supporting this because the expansion as it sits right now is just too over the top. It's 183 hectares, 117 of which are on federal land and 52 hectares that are on submerged land. So the environmental impact of this expansion would be very significant. Having said that, if they were to come back, once we kill this project, I think it's okay to look at other projects that are more sensible and a balanced approach to making sure we support the economy, but at the same time protect the environment. So I will be supporting this. Thank you very much.
Councillor Steves.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very much in favor of this resolution. I'd like to bring to everybody's attention how positive it's been with COVID-19 for what's happening in the Sailor Sea. The orcas are frolicking about. They're having babies that aren't dying on them. Remember, a year ago, their mother was carrying a dead baby around for ages. And it's a large degree because there isn't so much shipping. And basically, our port simply wants to increase the shipping. So that's one reason for opposing the port expansion, but there are a lot of alternatives, and I just want to go through them really quickly. First, there's Prince Rupert, which is a more direct route to Asia, and more goods could be sent there. Second, there's an inland port at Ashcroft that we've supported in the past. Goods could be sent there. Third, even goods from Alberta can even go to Alaska in the future. The A&A railroad that runs 500 miles of railroad line in Alaska has just come up with a proposal to run 1,500 miles down to Alberta and do shipping there. And that itself may not be a bad idea because we've had so much activity in the Fraser, lost so much foreshore and marshland that the canned salmon that we call Canadian salmon now is caught and canned in Alaska because we've killed off our salmon fishery. Another thing that we could do is the port could stop shipping Wyoming coal. It's banned for shipping in the United States, so we ship it out of Canada. If they didn't ship dirty coal, they'd have lots more room for containers. Nextly, we need a Coastal Zone Act and PREP back because the DFO has recommended that, and a commission on fisheries also recommended that the cumulative effect on the fisheries should be taken into consideration. The port isn't doing that. They represent PREP and our Coastal Act. And finally, we've got a proposal from Alberta to have short sea shipping. So I think there's so many alternatives that are never considered, and it's time that we all put our foot down and said no more expansion without some changes on behalf of the port.
Thank you. Councillor Wolf.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. A few comments, but first a question for staff through you. As a result of there being an election campaign, do the letters, if this gets approved tonight, do the letters to local MLAs wait until the new 4 are elected and then it would go out? Just to clarify that. Okay,
yes,
thanks. Then my comment is just over the weekend I did survey a little bit of Roberts Bank and noticed the diversity of life that was using that area, and looking at the jetty, the route out that trucks and trains take, and thinking about what the port is actually working on in the surrounding area. They're breaching other jetties and they're allowing better movement of fish through the water, yet they're looking at expanding the length and depth of their terminal out in the middle of the Salish Sea. So quite counterintuitive, although maybe some of these projects of theirs that they support and have participated in show goodwill to the local community. But clearly, with staff, including all the key findings and recommendations from the panel, the expansion flies in the face of what most Richmond residents that I've spoken with wish in our environment and under our watch. So I thank the staff for putting good comments together. And the one thing I am a little bit skeptical of, not of staff, but of our minister of this in the next step section, so that the Minister of Environment and Climate Change acknowledged and wants more information, but like typical environmental assessment office projects, once the next things are met, they proceed. There's very little opportunity to stop or to reduce or to change projects. So that line where it says the project's currently paused and will resume when the port can be met or meet the information, that's exactly why we need letters of support from cities like Richmond to ensure that it's not just a rubber stamp process and that our residents have a say. So thank you very much.
Okay, Councillor Liu. You don't have to turn anything
I don't
on.
have to turn anything? Wonderful. Thank you, Your Worship. I won't be supporting this, and I didn't support it before. My understanding is it's still at an early stage in the whole process. The whole point was to get comments from the panel, then it goes to the next level to understand what those, if in fact those are real, and then there are the recommendations and mitigations to deal with it. I think there's information out there why canneries aren't here in Richmond anymore as much. They've consolidated their operations. They don't have as many small operations. There's overfishing may have happened, but that's not a port issue. We consume our fish differently nowadays. We have frozen or fresh fish now. So some of these things that we're fighting and battling, they're not necessarily what's true. It's what the panel thought might exist, and it still has to go to the next level. So I think we're premature to be fighting it at this point.
Okay. Councillor Green.
Thank you very much. So I agree with Councillor Steves, is that we need to understand that there's lots of alternatives that are much better than the one that's in front of us. And I think it's really important to read the staff report, and there's very specific reasons why staff recommended that this not proceed. Normally staff doesn't come out so strong, but they did, and there's really good reasons for that. One of them is that the project boundaries that are being considered really don't include us, but we're hugely impacted. Our residents are going to be subject to excess trucking traffic with really bad pollution, which is, smelling exhaust all day, breathing that in, it's not healthy, and that's a documented health risk. Having excess congestion, which we already have, and we know from the Massey congestion, is that a lot of that is because the port isn't even running 24 hours a day. If they're not even running 24 hours a day, what justification do they have for a project of this magnitude? They need to look at their efficiencies and some of the other options that were identified by Councillor Steves. There's risks to Richmond residents, and they haven't been considered. They need to be. So I'm very happy to support this.
Councillor Au.
Yes, Your Worship, I will support the motion, but I have a question for staff first. On page CNCL 95, under the section of next steps, staff mentioned that the Minister of Environment and Climate Change has asked for more information from the port. And I want to ask, so once that's been done, when the port has provided more information to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, do we have the chance to comment on those information or those materials? So, further down the road, what is the role and the involvement of the city in the process?
Through your worship to Councillor Al, we'll have one more chance once the information package is going to be submitted from the minister. The package is going to be submitted to the port of the minister. So my understanding is there's now going to be a draft referral package as well as the additional material. There's going to be a public consultation period, at which case will typically be 30 days. The city's comments city staff will be able to review it during those 30 days and provide comment. After that period, there will be no more chances to comment. It's in the decision of the minister at that point at the federal level.
Okay, so I'm glad that we will still have further opportunities to provide our points of view. Now, I'm going to support this motion. I understand that some people argue that this expansion project of the port is going to create jobs and provide economic activities. I agree to that. However, I think the question is at what cost? So what's the cost that we have to pay for that kind of expansion? And as the mayor mentioned, the city has always been in the possession of opposing to this project. And I think there's no reason that for us to change our position based on the findings of the independent review panel. Actually, I think the findings of the review panel supported the position of the city. So there's not something new for us to change our original position. And I'm even a bit cautious about whether or not this 71 recommendations being made by the panel would be able to address the concerns. Yes, the panel make the recommendations, and even if they're going to be implemented, whether or not it's enough to address the concerns is still a question. So that's why I think there's nothing new for us to change our position, and I support the motion as is.
Councillor McNulty.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be supporting this as well, and I'm not going to reiterate all the reasons for it, but obviously, I guess I had a couple quick questions of staff, though, and that's in our involvement. The independent review panel, do we know who they are? I mean, it's great to, there's a term, but who composes the independent review panel?
Through your worship, Councillor McNulty, the panel is made up of 3 individuals that all work for the agency. They're all considered subject matter experts in environmental assessment.
And they're experts in environment, but they work for the agency. Thank you very much. That's what I thought, and that's why I questioned it. So it's not an independent review panel that's doing it, although they did put some recommendations. Staff, Your Worship mentioned public consultation. Will we have a forum here in Richmond so that our residents can have a direct say on it? Or what will, I know it may be premature on the nature of the consultation that they may be undergoing. We're not, usually something like this, this is what we're going to do, take it or leave it basically, but we're going to do it anyhow, and that's consulting. That's not the way we consult in Richmond. So I'm wondering if we can ask the nature of the consultation and the consultative process, and that Richmond be included and have a forum here in Richmond.
Your Worship, Councillor McNulty, I will absolutely make that request.
Thank you very much. That's all, Your Worship.
Okay, your hand's still up. There you go. Yeah, your hand's back up. Okay, so we'll call the question on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? So it's carried with Councillor Liu, Councillor McPhail opposed. Brings us to public announcements and events. We do have a number of announcements. First of all, from the special closed council meeting a week or two ago, Councillor Bill McNulty has been appointed to the Board of Emergency Communications for Southwest British Columbia, that's ECOM, until the annual general meeting of ECOM in 2021. Then a notice goes out to all the folks in Richmond. The community grant applications are open. Once again, Richmond is making grants available to assist the valuable work of nonprofit societies that improve the quality of life for residents through diverse and beneficial community programs. So we've got a number of different categories: arts and culture, childcare, health, social and safety services, parks, recreation, and community events. So you have till Wednesday, October 28th to get in your application. And if you want more information, go to the city website /city grants. Then there's the Heritage Awards nominations that are open. The question goes out, do you know a person or an organization that deserves recognition for their dedication to historic places, public history, or a heritage interpretation project in the city? If so, we encourage you to nominate them for the annual Heritage Awards by Sunday, October 18th. Again, if you want more information, go to the city website /news. Then we just remind everybody that we opened the new Minaroo Center for Active Living, which is a state-of-the-art indoor aquatic center at Minaroo Center for Active Living. We encourage you to register for a spot to come and experience this amazing aquatic center for yourself. And if you want to get more information on that, again, the city website /Minaroo Pools. And finally, the property tax deadline. Just a last reminder, this is only a couple days away. An important reminder is that the penalty will come into effect. It's the deadline for property taxes on Wednesday, September 30th. Those who have not paid their property taxes or claimed their homeowner grant, if they're eligible by that time, will be subject to a 10% penalty. We encourage all residents and businesses who have not yet done so to pay their taxes by that date. Several options are available to pay, including by check or credit card at City Hall, online through the city website, or at your financial institution. And if you want more information, again, you can go to the city website. So I've got a couple of hands raised. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just two quick announcements. One is it is Bike to Work Week or Bike to School Week, so please look out neighborhoods for extra cyclists, and also if you're doing it, enjoy the sunny week. And the second one is the Bat Matters 2020 conference is on. It started today, but you can still join the virtual conference. It relates to bat-friendly communities, and Richmond is actually profiled as one of the 3 demonstration cities of how to get it done and how to start education campaigns and all that. So those are my 2 updates. Thanks.
Councillor McPhail.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to let everybody know that the Friends of the Richmond Library will be having a sidewalk sale every Saturday in October. So that's October 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th, and 31st, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Canby Road branch. And there will be COVID-19 protocols in place, and it's cash only, and let's support the Friends of the Library. Thank you.
So it's just the one branch location, Canby?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Your hand's still up there, Linda. So we'll go to bylaws for adoption.
Move the first one. 10187.
So 10187 is moved and seconded. Discussion on that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Move 101-189.
Okay, and moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried with Councillor Wolf opposed. And Madam Clerk, the Development Permit Panel?
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 2 recommendations for council. The first is that the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on September 16th and the Chair's report for the panel meetings held on July 24th, 2019, December 11th, 2019, and September 16th, 2020 be received for information. And number 2, that the recommendations of the panel to authorize the issuance of a development permit for the property at 8140 Number 2 Road, a development permit for the property at 4693, 4720, 4740 Vanguard Road and Road, parcel Richmond Key 20909, and C, a development variance permit for the property at 2151, 2511, 2611, 2651 Number 7 Road, be endorsed and the permits so issued.
So moved.
So that's moved and seconded. Councillor Green.
I just wanted to say a few things about the Vanguard Road. I wanted to just give kudos to the developer with green roofs, solar panels, and measures to mitigate bird strikes and densifying industrial land. It's a 2-story with freight elevators that carry vehicles if so needed. I think that that's going in the right direction. So thanks for that coming forward.
All right, Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to comment on 2 of them. I'll start with the Vanguard development, like Councillor Green just spoke on. I think there's a lot of great things about it. She highlighted a number of them. I have a question of staff. I also have concern about some of the direction that it's going, and that's up. So the variance of over or about 4.15 meters in height and excess. I'd like to hear from staff why the just from what I read in the pages, and some of them aren't numbered, are for uses of the technology of stacked warehouses. If you could expand on this to have this set a precedent for more than 4 meters above our existing. I think it has impacts on the neighboring ESA. That's just the forested area to the east, the nature park to the south, the ESA that's just further down Alderbridge. So I'd like a comment on that, the value addedness of having that extra space in the warehouse, perhaps. And then the second comment is it does have a report on the sustainability.
Sorry, let's hear from staff on that point, then you can go on to your next.
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, in terms of the height variance, we are seeing an increasing trend for height variances and height variance requests with industrial land. With this specific project, it is unique in that it is a stacked warehouse space. It's probably one of the first within the region to be a stacked warehouse space in terms of light industrial space, stacked 2 stories high with mezzanines on each floor. The other height variances that have been recently granted by council will be of similar nature in terms of the overall height.
Then, just a response to that, then, through your worship, is it not, would it not make more sense for us to revisit the actual height instead of doing these variances at such a scale every time a new applicant comes? Some push 2 meters and the next one goes for 4 meters. Maybe we have a more blanket approach. Is that not a time to call for that?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, that work is actually underway through the Industrial Lands Intensification Initiative the council endorsed. So staff are working through the research on that. We do anticipate that a report would come forward within the next number of months. Increased height is one of the aspects which will be elaborated on in that report.
And then does that at all tie into what Metro Vancouver's industrial lands webinar or processes that there? Is that at all tied to what Metro Van, or are you referring to just Richmond specific?
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, the initiative that I referred to is a Richmond specific initiative. There is work going on within the region. Our policy planning staff that are working on the industrial land intensification initiative are also tied into the regional work that is being done.
Okay, great. I'll keep that up. And then just a next comment on this same project. Under sustainability, it has all the great features, the permeable surfaces and solar panels, all great. But where does it put this in LEED or step code? I didn't see where it hopes to reach.
Through your worship to Councillor Wolf, there currently wouldn't be a step code application to the site. Step code deals with residential, commercial, and soon to be other forms, but there is not currently an equivalent for industrial development.
So as we have the benchmarking program going ahead, has this project have expressed interest to be part of that benchmarking program for new buildings?
Through your worship's Council Wolf, I don't have that information with me. I'd have to speak with our staff and the applicant to determine whether they're willing to participate in that program.
Yeah, I don't know if you need official council direction, but I would hope that buildings like this that are using innovative design features are encouraged to showcase them at that benchmarking program. So, do you need more direction than that, or will that?
No, I'm happy to take that under advisement and move forward.
All right, appreciate that. And then just a final short comment on. This was in item 1, so this was in the minutes from the DPP meeting. I'd just like to, from what I read in the report, I did not attend that meeting, but the development in Hamilton that had a tree damaged on site, and then to me it appears that staff were not accepting that just a minimal replacement, but that they wanted significant trees to be replaced, and it is quite a magnificent cedar tree, and to have it damaged, it still looks healthy to me. But if it is indeed going to be removed because of neighboring uses and the ESA in that area, I value staff's judgment on that to encourage a better replacement. So thank you.
All right. So on the development permit panel, I'm going to call the question then. All those in favor? Anybody opposed to anything? Okay. Yeah, that is all carried. And someone move adjournment. So we're now adjourned. Thank you very much.